You're standing in front of the mirror in the outfit you thought was the safe one. It's soft, it's comfortable, it's the color everyone your age gets told to wear. But something in the glass looks heavier than you feel and older than you actually are. I know that exact moment because I stood in it for years. Here is what took me far too long to understand. It was never your body adding those years to your reflection. It was the fabric touching your body. Change 5 fabrics, and you can look 10 pounds lighter and a full decade younger without buying a single new thing. I discovered this by accident in a harshly lit fitting room at 63, blinking back tears. And the thing that finally cracked it wide open came from a Hollywood costume designer who won 8 Academy Awards teaching famous women how to look slimmer on camera. Her secret still works. And it works with clothes you already own. So let me take you back to that fitting room because I need you to understand how lost I was. I had gone shopping for something to wear to my niece's wedding. I was terrified of the photographs. In every recent picture, I looked like I was slowly disappearing into a beige cloud. So I picked up a blouse in a lovely shade of soft rose, made of that slippery, shiny material that feels like it belongs at a party. I put it on under those cruel lights, and I looked wider, rounder, and somehow 10 years past my own age. And I remember thinking, this is just what 63 looks like now. I believed the problem was me. It was not me, and it was not you either. Let me start with the very first fabric that was quietly stealing years from my reflection, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Shine. Anything with a high, glassy sheen. That satin finish polyester blouse, the shiny cocktail top, the slippery fabric that catches the light when you turn. I always believed that shine meant dressed up. Shine meant special. Shine meant I made an effort. So for every wedding, every dinner, every holiday, I reached for the shiniest thing in my closet, thinking I was doing the elegant thing. Here is what shine actually does. Light bounces off a shiny surface, and wherever that light lands, it makes that spot look bigger. So the fabric acts like a little spotlight on every curve, every soft place, every part of you that you were hoping to gently skim over. It magnifies. A shiny blouse across the tummy or the upper arms is doing the opposite of what you want. It draws the eye and enlarges. I had spent years thinking I looked festive, when really I was wearing a garment designed by pure physics to add width. The fix is almost insultingly simple. Matte fabric. Fabric with no shine that drinks the light instead of throwing it back. The same rose color, in a matte crepe or a soft matte cotton, lays flat against the light and quietly narrows everything it covers. I went home that night and pulled out an old top I had ignored for years because I thought it looked plain. It was matte. In the mirror, it made me look slimmer than anything shiny I owned. Plain was never plain. Plain was flattering, and nobody had told me. But here is the part that made me genuinely angry once I understood it, and I want you to sit with this. Why did I believe shine meant special in the first place? Why did I reach for it every single time? Because somewhere along the way, I had been sold a story. And I was about to learn who profited from selling it to me. Because the shiny fabrics are cheaper to make. The synthetic satins, the slippery polyesters, they cost pennies to produce, and they photograph as luxurious under store lighting. So for decades, the racks in the sections aimed at women my age were filled with them, marketed as our special occasion clothes. We were quietly handed the fabrics that were cheapest to make and least flattering to wear, and told this was what dressing up looked like at our age. We were never told the truth, because the truth does not sell as many one-size, easy-care, shiny blouses to women the industry had already decided would not look too closely. I looked too closely. And that leads straight into the second fabric, which fooled me even worse, because this one was hiding inside the clothes I found most comfortable. Thin, clingy jersey. The soft, stretchy knit in those pull-on tops and dresses that feel like pajamas and promise you comfort. I loved them. After a certain age, comfort starts to feel like the whole point, and these fabrics hug you like a warm hand. So I filled my drawers with thin cotton spandex and slinky rayon jersey, thinking I had finally found clothes that were kind to me. They were kind to my skin and cruel to my silhouette. Thin, stretchy jersey does exactly what its name says. It clings. It clings to every single thing underneath it. The waistband of your slip, the little roll at the middle, the line of everything you wear beneath. There is no forgiveness in a thin, clingy knit. It reveals the body underneath, like a second skin. And after 60, when our bodies have softened in the perfectly natural way that bodies do, that clinging is the last thing we want. I remember catching my reflection in a shop window wearing one of those thin jersey dresses I adored. From the front, it was fine. But the window caught me from the side, and I saw every ripple the fabric was faithfully reporting to the world. I had thought I was wearing something flattering. I was wearing something that hid nothing. Now please hear me, because this is where most advice goes wrong and makes you feel like you have to suffer to look good. The answer is not to squeeze yourself into something stiff and uncomfortable. The answer is weight and drape. You want a knit with a little more weight to it, a little more body, something like a ponte knit, or a medium weight jersey that has structure. A heavier knit skims your body instead of clinging to it. It falls from the fullest part of you and drops straight down, creating a smooth, clean line, while the thin stuff maps every curve. Here is how you test it in your own closet today. No shopping required. Take the top or dress in question, pinch a bit of the fabric, and pull. If it stretches easily and thinly, like a rubber band, and you can nearly see your hand through it, it will cling and reveal. If it has some heft, some resistance, and it falls back into place smoothly, it will skim and forgive. I went through my whole wardrobe with this one pinch test, and I set aside every thin, clingy thing. I did not throw them out. I use them now as layers, underneath, where no one sees them. And overnight, half my wardrobe started working for me instead of against me. But comfort had one more trap waiting for me, and it was hanging in the exact opposite corner of my closet. Because after I learned to fear the clingy fabrics, I overcorrected, and I ran straight into the third mistake: stiff, boxy fabric. The heavy, structured pieces that stand away from your body like cardboard. Thick, stiff cotton, that heavy canvas-like material. The boxy jacket that keeps its shape whether you are inside it or not. I thought, well, if clingy is bad, then stiff must be safe. Because stiff fabric does not show anything at all. It hides everything. And that was my mistake. Hiding everything is not the same as flattering anything. When a fabric is so stiff, it holds a boxy shape on its own. It gives you the shape of a box. It creates a straight line from your shoulders down to your hips with no indication that there is a waist anywhere inside. And here is the cruel little secret about that. When you erase your waist entirely, the eye assumes the widest point goes all the way down. You do not read as slim. You read as one solid, wide rectangle. I had a stiff jacket I wore for years thinking it was elegant and structured, and in photographs I looked like a piece of furniture. The reason this matters more for us than for a woman of 30 is worth understanding. As we get older, our waistlines naturally soften and thicken a little, and our proportions shift. A stiff, boxy garment takes that gentle change and turns it into a hard, square outline. But a fabric with soft structure, one that holds a shape but still moves, gently suggests a waist, even where the fabric is skimming past it. It gives you a line that curves in, ever so slightly, and that tiny inward curve is what the eye reads as youthful and slim. So the third rule that changed everything for me: not stiff, not clingy, but fabric with soft structure. Fabric that has enough body to fall in a clean line, but enough softness to move when you move and to hint at the shape of a woman underneath. A wool blend that drapes, a ponte, a soft crepe, a cotton with a little give. When I switched my stiff boxy blazer for one in a softer wool blend that actually moved with me, people started asking if I had lost weight. I had not lost an ounce. I had only stopped wearing a box. Now, right about here is where I need to stop and talk to the one of you who has been quietly getting frustrated with me, because I can almost hear you. You are thinking, this all sounds lovely, but you are talking about buying new ponte knits and soft wool blends and matte crepe, and I do not have money to replace my closet, and I am not built like the women in the magazines, and I certainly cannot afford a stylist to figure this out for me. I hear you. I truly do. And I need you to stay with me right here, because this next part is for you specifically. You do not need to buy anything. I want to be very clear about that. Everything I am telling you is a way of seeing what you already own with new eyes. That pinch test I gave you for the clingy fabric costs nothing. That look for shine versus matte costs nothing. And here is a technique you can use this very afternoon, standing at your own closet with clothes you have owned for years. Go pull out 3 tops you already reach for the most. Take them to a window with natural daylight, not the yellow light of a bedroom lamp, because store and house lighting lie to us constantly. Hold each one up. First, tilt it toward the light and watch for shine. Does the light slide across it and bounce, or does it sink in and stay soft? Set the shiny ones aside for now. Second, do the pinch and pull. Thin and rubbery goes in the layering pile. Third, lay it flat and see if it holds a stiff shape or falls into soft folds. What you will very likely find is that you already own several pieces that are matte, medium weight, and softly structured, and you have been ignoring them because you thought they were boring. They are not boring. They are the exact fabrics that make you look slimmer and younger, and you already paid for them. And there is one more free move, the one that saved me the most money. Layering to change a fabric's behavior. If your only nice blouse for an event is a thin, clingy one, you do not have to replace it. Put a smooth, thin camisole underneath it, and suddenly the clingy layer has something to glide over instead of grabbing onto. If a top is slightly sheer, the same trick fixes it. I dressed for 2 years almost entirely out of clothes I already owned, simply by learning which ones to trust, which ones to layer, and which ones to retire to the back of the drawer. This was never about spending. It was about knowing. And knowing is free. And because knowing is what actually changes your reflection, I did not stop at fabric. I spent months writing down everything I wish someone had handed me at 63, and it became 3 books for women like us who want to look a decade younger this week using only the hair, the clothes, and the face we already have. No salon, no shopping, no surgery. In them, I walk you through the 7-day protocol, day by day, how to read your own face without a stylist's opinion, the window test that shows you in 1 minute which colors are draining you, the 4-piece rescue that rebuilds an outfit from what is already hanging there, and the standing photograph fix, so you never dread the camera at a family gathering again. It is the long, careful version of what I am giving you here, researched properly and written out step by step, so nothing is left to guesswork. If you want it, scan the QR code right there on your screen, or take the link in the description or the pinned comment for the books. Now let me get back to your closet, because there is a 4th fabric waiting in there, and this one is the hardest of all to let go of. Now, that brings me to the 4th fabric, and this one hurt to give up, because it is the one that feels the coziest of all, especially as the weather turns cold. The big, bulky, chunky knit, the thick, chunky cable sweater, the fluffy, oversized cardigan, the heavy knit that wraps you up like a blanket. I loved these with my whole heart. When you feel a little invisible, a big soft sweater feels like a place to hide, and hiding feels safe. But a bulky knit adds bulk. That is not an opinion. It is just what a thick, 3-dimensional fabric does. Every extra bit of thickness in the fabric becomes extra width on your body. A chunky sweater can add the visual appearance of several pounds all the way around, and worse, that heavy texture pools and gathers at exactly the places we would rather it did not, at the bust, at the middle, at the hips. I once wore a gorgeous, expensive, oversized cable knit to a holiday lunch, feeling absolutely wrapped in luxury, and when I saw the photos, I looked like I was wearing a comforter. The sweater was beautiful. On a hanger, on me it added a size and a half. The answer, thank goodness, is not to freeze, it is to choose a finer knit. A thinner, smoother knit in a good quality yarn keeps you every bit as warm, especially when you layer it, but it lays close and clean instead of ballooning out. A fine merino, a smooth, thin cashmere, if you find it on sale, even a good thin cotton knit. The trick I learned is that warmth comes from layers of thin, not from one layer of thick. 2 thin, fine knits will keep you warmer than 1 bulky one, and they will give you a slim, streamlined shape instead of a round one. When I traded my chunky cardigans for finer ones, I did not lose an inch of comfort, but I lost inches everywhere it counted in the mirror. And here is the layer of this that made me quietly furious all over again. The chunky knits are marketed to us relentlessly. Walk into any store in autumn, and the section for women my age is a wall of enormous, shapeless, cozy sweaters, all whispering the same message. Cover up, hide, be comfortable, disappear. We are sold coziness as a consolation prize, as if once you pass 60, the deal is that you can be warm or you can be seen, but you cannot be both. That is the story I want you to stop believing today. You are allowed to be warm and visible. You are allowed to be comfortable and elegant. The two were never enemies. Somebody just needed us to think they were. Which brings me to the fifth and final fabric, and this is the one almost nobody warns you about, because it hides in the clothes that look perfectly fine on the hanger and only betray you once you are standing in the room. The cheap sheer and the crinkling synthetic. I mean the flimsy see-through overlays, the thin, scratchy synthetic chiffons, and especially the fabrics that wrinkle and crush the instant you sit down and never smooth back out. Let me tell you how this one caught me, because it is so ordinary it could happen to anyone. I bought a blouse in a pretty print, a lightweight synthetic, and it looked lovely in the store. I wore it to a luncheon that lasted maybe 2 hours. By the time I stood up to leave, the entire front and lap of that blouse was a road map of deep creases that would not fall out no matter how I smoothed them. And here is the thing about wrinkles on a mature woman. A crushed, creased, wrinkled fabric transfers its texture onto you. The eye sees all those little crumpled lines, and it reads age, tiredness, and neglect, even when your face is fresh and your spirits are high. I looked exhausted, and it was entirely the fabric's fault. The sheer version of this is just as sneaky. A thin, cheap sheer layer over the arms or the body seems modest and forgiving, but poor quality sheer fabric has a dull grayish cast to it, and it does not float the way good chiffon does. It clings and it sags, and it puts a tired little haze over your whole outfit. It looks flimsy, and flimsy always looks older, because quality is one of the quietest signals of youth and vitality there is. So the fifth rule is about how a fabric recovers. You want fabrics that spring back. And I am going to give you the exact test in a moment, because it is part of the bigger secret I promised you at the very beginning, the one that came from that 8-time Academy Award-winning costume designer. Because everything I have told you so far, the shine, the cling, the stiffness, the bulk, the crushing, all 5 of them are really pieces of one single principle. And once she handed me that principle, I never had to guess about a fabric again. Her name was Edith Head, and if you have watched almost any classic Hollywood film, you have seen her work without knowing it. She dressed the most photographed women of the middle of the 20th century, from the 1940s through the 1970s, and she won 8 Academy Awards, more than any other woman in the history of the entire ceremony. Her entire job was to make real women, with real bodies, look slimmer, taller, and ageless under the most merciless lights ever invented, the harsh lights of a film set, which show every single flaw far worse than any mirror in your home ever will. If anyone on earth knew which fabrics add years and which fabrics erase them, it was this woman. And she wrote her principles down in grooming and style guides from that era that most women today have completely forgotten existed. Here is the heart of what she taught, the thing that pulled all 5 of my fabric mistakes into one simple idea. She insisted on fabrics that were matte, that had weight, and that held a clean line while still moving softly. She dressed her actresses in what is called matte crepe, a fabric with a slightly pebbled, non-shiny surface and a beautiful fluid weight, precisely because it absorbs light instead of reflecting it, and it falls in a long, unbroken line that makes a body look slimmer and taller in an instant. She understood decades before anyone put it in a magazine that a matte fabric with good drape is the single most slimming, most flattering, most youthful thing a woman can put on. And she knew it because she watched it happen, frame by frame, on the biggest screens in the world. And here is the test she is said to have used, the one that changed how I shop and how I dress forever, and the one you can do this week with anything you already own or anything you are thinking of buying. It is called the fist test, and it takes 5 seconds. You take a good handful of the fabric and you squeeze it tight in your fist, really crush it. Then you open your hand and you watch. A good fabric, the kind that will make you look slimmer and younger, will fall open almost smooth, springing back to itself with barely a wrinkle, draping down over your hand in a soft fold. A bad fabric, the kind that ages you, stays crushed. It holds the creases, it sits there crumpled in your palm, and that is exactly what it will do across your lap and your middle the moment you sit down. Do you see how that one test catches nearly everything? The crushing synthetics fail it instantly. The stiff, boxy fabrics fail it too, because they crack into hard creases instead of falling into soft folds. The good matte crepes and fine knits and soft wool blends all pass it beautifully, springing back and pouring over your hand like water. One squeeze of your fist, and you know whether a garment is going to make you look like the woman you feel like inside, or like a tired stranger. I stood in a department store the week I learned this, and quietly squeezed a dozen blouses in my fist, and I promise you the salesgirl thought I had lost my mind. And I did not care one bit, because for the first time in my life I could tell in 5 seconds what 40 years of shopping had never taught me. That is the whole secret. It was never hidden in some expensive boutique or reserved for younger, thinner women. It was written down decades ago by the woman who dressed the most beautiful stars in the world, and then it was allowed to be forgotten, buried under mountains of cheap, shiny polyester and marketing that decided women our age were not worth the good fabric. But it survived. In those old guides, in those films, in the way those women still look elegant on screen half a century later. And now, it is yours. You can walk to your closet tonight, make a fist, and take back every year those fabrics have been stealing from you. I want you to really feel what happened here, because it is bigger than clothes. For years, I thought my reflection was telling me the truth about my age and my body, and I quietly grieved a little every time I passed a mirror. It turned out my mirror had been lying, and the liar was the fabric. The day I understood that, I did not feel older. I felt robbed, and then I felt free, because a thing that was taken from me by the wrong 5 fabrics could be handed right back by the right ones, at no cost, using clothes I already had. That is not vanity. That is a woman refusing to disappear on someone else's schedule. Because that is who we are, you and I. We are the women who were told, gently and constantly, that our time to be seen was over, that we should wrap ourselves in something cozy and shapeless and beige, and step quietly to the back of every photograph. And we are the women who are deciding, right now, that elegance does not expire, that visibility is not a privilege of the young, and that the right piece of matte, well-draped fabric can say everything we are still here to say. We are not fading. We are just getting started, and now we know exactly what to wear while we do it. So do this one thing for me, because I truly want to know. Go to your closet tonight, find the one top or dress you always thought was your best, your most special piece, and give it the fist test. Squeeze it hard, open your hand, and watch what it does. Then come down to the comments and tell me plainly, did your favorite piece pass or fail? Did it spring back like a good matte crepe, or did it stay crumpled in your palm? I read every single one, and I want to hear which of the 5 fabrics you found hiding in your own closet. Please, take one moment and leave me that comment. It matters more than you know, and it helps other women find this too. And if something here made you see your own reflection a little differently, come join us. This is a gathering place for women who have decided they are done fading quietly, who believe elegance has no age limit, and who are learning, together, how to be seen again for all the right reasons. Subscribe and stay with us, because next time I am going to show you the one color almost every woman over 60 wears that instantly drains the life from her face, and the simple shade you can put right beside it to bring all that light rushing back. You already own both. You just need to know which is which. I will be waiting for you there. Before you go, I have something for you. This video showed one fabric, but inside my membership, the Ageless Elegance Circle, I walk you through all 5 and their flattering swaps, picking up right where we stopped. In there, you can ask me your own questions, and a real person, me, answers you myself. And you won't be alone. You belong here with women just like you. Point your phone's camera at the code and cancel anytime. Now that you know which fabrics to skip, let me show you something just as powerful. The right colors can take years off your face instantly. That video is starting right here, so stay with me.